Hi, this is Alessio. Hope you're well. And in this particular Bitcoin update, I'm going to talk to you about the recent surge in the price of Bitcoin, which has gone and hit both of our upside targets. As a matter of fact, we'll talk to you about that. And of course, I'll show you this chart as well and what this could be telling us for the next few weeks as well. Now, of course, it's a very special week today, as I'm sure you're aware of that, because Bitcoin has not only hit both of our upside targets, but it's also gone above the key 20,000 level. After several years, since 2017, Bitcoin has finally taken out its 2017 highs. So we'll talk to you more about it in a few minutes. So obviously, Bitcoin has just recently hit both of our upside targets that I mentioned to you in a previous video. If you recall my earlier videos, I mentioned to you two specific targets. One was 21,255. The second one was at 23,000 approximate levels there, as you can see on that chart there. So guys, the fact that we've hit both these targets can give us some strong clues as to where we potentially could go next. By the way, I should also mention, I was quite surprised we hit these targets so soon. I was expecting these targets to be met perhaps by the end of December or in January. So the fact we hit these targets so quickly and so fast, yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to me, of course. But there it is. I mean, Bitcoin is it's got a different animal, isn't it? I said, look, if Bitcoin can just pull back a little bit to the trend line, which we did, by the way, pull back to the trend line breakout point, and then I said, if we can move through that resistance of 19,420, very likely we could move further higher into our higher targets at the 21,000, 22,000, 23,000 levels. All right, guys, and notice that's exactly what Bitcoin did. It moved through the 19,420 resistance there, and then basically skyrocketed, surged into the next higher levels. So far so good. And I'll talk to you a bit about this particular chart in a few moments. Before we go on to that though, let me also show this to you. On this particular chart, you will see another blue line, which we hit today, as I make this video, in fact, on Thursday. Today we hit this level, this blue line you see on my chart, at 23,777 on the Bitstamp chart. Now, in case you're wondering, well, what's so special about that level? Here's the thing, guys. If you zoom out on your chart and go back for the last 12 months, you'll see if you actually measure the rally from the March lows to the August highs, I think the August summer highs. So if you actually measure that rally from the March lows to the August highs, the summer highs, and then you project that rally from the lows we had, I believe in September, I think it was, then what happens is the 161-point extension of that rally becomes that blue line you see there. And the reason that's important is because the 161.8% level is called the golden ratio. It's a very critical and important level. I would say always draw that level on your chart. Okay, whatever you do, whenever you start beginning your analysis and chart analysis, always find that level on your chart, the 161.8% extension, the golden ratio on your chart, because that is a very important and critical resistance level. And also in Elliott wave theory, the wave 3 of a move, of a trend, usually extends to the 100% and the 161.8% extension of wave 1 drawn from the bottom of wave 2. All right, guys, so just remember that. All right, guys, let's continue with Bitcoin. Here's the thing. Now, we've hit the levels, the key levels for wave 3, the resistance levels for wave 3. The question is, am I convinced that wave 3 has topped? Am I convinced that wave 3 has completed? Not just yet, because you see, guys, before wave 3 completes, and before we then go into a wave 4 correction like you see here, what I first need to see is divergence, negative divergence on several time frames. All right, guys. Now, we'll come to this in a few minutes about the divergences. But look at this chart over here. Once we complete wave 3, once we see a high probability that wave 3 has completed, we're not there yet, but once we see a pattern develop on the charts that wave 3 has completed, then we can start the process of a wave 4 correction, wave 4 pullback. Okay, now here's the thing. One thing you should remember is this. Wave 4 pullbacks are sometimes very clean, very nice looking, like an ABC like this, but sometimes they're horrible. As you've seen before, sometimes wave 4 can be very messy, very unpredictable too. These are called complex corrections. But guys, I'm hoping that Bitcoin can give us a more simple structure like this one, more of an ABC type corrective structure, not immediately, but perhaps over the next 4 to 6 weeks. I think as we head into the month of January sees some volatility, by the way, which by the way reminds me of this. Have a look at this seasonality chart. This seasonality chart, which I've had, by the way, for some years, the seasonality of Bitcoin has played out this year perfectly. Look at this. You'll see that usually in the month of October, November, December, Bitcoin is very strong, which it has been this year. So guys, what that means is this particular seasonal period we're in right now is usually quite bullish for Bitcoin. So again, we need to be patient. We need to be patient for Bitcoin to finally complete wave 3. And once the wave 3 completes, then we can start the wave 4 correction, perhaps in the next 4 to 6 weeks. I think it's more likely to happen maybe by the end of December or by January. Once we start January, we could start perhaps some kind of a topping formation and start of a wave 4 pullback, a wave 4 correction, as you can see here. By the way, again, remember, wave 4 corrections, when they do happen, are usually very messy and sometimes unpredictable. So be aware of that. Now, here's the thing, guys. Here's how you can know when a wave 3 is likely completing and topping. You see, guys, before a wave 3 completes, what you need is divergence. You need to see negative divergence on certain time frames, and also you need to see break of support. So that means you need two things. First, divergences, negative divergences on the hourly time frame, 4-hour, and the daily time frame, and then you need to see a break of support. Now let's talk about divergences. We do have some negative divergence at the moment on the daily time frame. You can see Bitcoin made a higher high, but the MACD has made a lower high. MACD has not made a higher high. So there is a bit of a negative divergence at the moment on the daily time frame. However, that's not enough. I also like to see divergences, negative divergences on the lower time frame, like an hourly chart. If we go on an hourly chart, do we have any negative divergences on an hourly time frame? No, we don't. At the moment, guys, there simply is not any negative divergence on this chart, on the hourly time frame. And the same applies with the 4-hour time frame. There is no negative divergence on the 4-hour time frame. What I would like to see as an example is this. Take a look. This is 2018. In 2018, Bitcoin made a higher high. It took out the previous highs. But look at the MACD. The MACD made a lower high. That's what you call a negative divergence, as I'm sure you're aware. And that's a good sign. That's what I like to see before topping formation. Okay, guys, so before I see some kind of a topping formation, like in a wave 3 top, I would like to see some negative divergences on the lower time frame, like the hourly chart or the 4-hour chart. And yes, I would like to see it on the daily chart as well. Now, again, let's wait and see. Let's be patient, because at the moment, the momentum is still with the bulls. Bulls at the moment have control of this market. So until and unless Bitcoin breaks some key support levels, okay, and until we see negative divergences, which we don't have yet, look, we have to be careful because bulls still have control of this market. And I think potentially in the next few weeks, we'll find out if Bitcoin can give us some kind of negative divergence on the hourly chart. All right, guys, before I finish the video, I did promise I'll play a little tune for you to celebrate the moment that Bitcoin has reached the 20,000 levels. So here we go. See if you can guess what tune this is.